3 words, that is all it took. 3 words spoken out loud by the President of the United States at a Saudi Arabia-sponsored event in Miami, while 12 American soldiers were bleeding at a Saudi airbase from Iranian missiles, while Wall Street was closing its 5th consecutive losing week, while Russia was loading upgraded drones onto a cargo plane bound for Tehran. The 3 words were, Strait of Trump. He caught himself mid-sentence. He laughed. He said, "Excuse me, such a terrible mistake." And then, "And this is the part that matters," he said. "There are no accidents with me, not too many." Stop, hold those 3 words. Because the President of the United States, at an event funded by the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, just named the world's most important oil choke point after himself, in a war that has wounded over 300 American soldiers, in a war that has killed 14, in a war that has cost the American taxpayer $28 billion in 28 days, and his response to the slip was not a correction. It was a statement of intent. There are no accidents with me. This is day 28, and before this video is over, you will understand why those 3 words may be the most strategically revealing thing Donald Trump has said since this war began. But first, the number you need to hold in your head alongside those 3 words. The number is 300. The Pentagon confirmed it this morning for the first time. 300 American soldiers wounded in 28 days. Not killed, wounded. 300 men and women who went to serve in a Middle East that Trump said would be secured in the first hour. 300 who came back from their posts with injuries that will follow them for the rest of their lives. And last night, 12 more were added to that count when Iranian missiles hit Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia and tore through the flight line. 13 Americans have been killed, 14 as of this morning, and the war that was supposed to end in the first hour is now in its 4th week with no ceasefire in sight. A prediction market giving peace an 8% chance by April, and Russia sending upgraded weapons to Tehran as the 2 sides negotiate through Pakistan. The conflict pair driving every development today is the same one that has defined this war from the beginning. The United States versus Iran. But what day 28 reveals is that this pair is no longer symmetric. One side is escalating militarily, economically, and diplomatically simultaneously. The other side is calling an oil strait after its president. Start with Prince Sultan Air Base, because what happened there last night is the most serious American military casualty event since 6 soldiers died in Kuwait on day 8. An Iranian missile and unmanned drone attack struck the Saudi base in the early hours, wounding 12 U.S. service members, 2 of them seriously, and damaging several American aircraft on the flight line. A U.S. official confirmed the attack to Reuters, adding that the latest casualties bring the total number of wounded American personnel since February 28 to over 300. Army Sergeant Benjamin Pennington, 26 years old, wounded in the March 1 attack on that same base, died this week. He is the 14th name on a list that keeps growing while Trump says the war has been won. But here is what makes last night's strike strategically significant beyond the casualty count. Iran did not hit a barracks, it did not hit a headquarters building, it did not target soldiers at rest, it targeted refueling aircraft, the aerial tankers that keep American bombers in the air over Iran, the machines that allow B-2 stealth bombers to fly from Diego Garcia to Tehran and back, the infrastructure that makes sustained American air operations against Iran physically possible. Think about what that means. Iran hit the fuel supply for the American air campaign. Without functioning aerial refueling aircraft at Prince Sultan, the operational range and tempo of American strikes against Iran contracts. Every damaged tanker is a reduction in America's ability to maintain the bombing pace that has defined this war for 28 days. This was not a random attack. This was a calculated strike on the logistical backbone of American military power in the region, and it landed on Saudi soil, at a Saudi base. On the same night, Trump was laughing at a Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund event in Miami. Now the Strait of Trump moment. Because the full context of what Trump said is even more revealing than the clip you may have already seen. At the start of his remarks Friday evening in Miami, Trump assured the audience that the U.S. military is achieving its objectives in its 4-week war against Iran. Then he said, they have to open up the Strait of Trump, Hormuz. He laughed. He said, "Excuse me, I am so sorry, such a terrible mistake." Then the fake news will say I accidentally said Strait of Trump. No, there are no accidents with me, not too many. This was said at an event sponsored by the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund. Saudi Arabia, the country whose capital Riyadh absorbed Iranian missile strikes in this same war. The country that privately lobbied Trump to launch this war and is now publicly funding the event where Trump names the world's oil choke point after himself. The country that had American refueling aircraft destroyed on its own soil the same night Trump made the joke in its own sponsored event. But analysts watching this war are not treating it as a joke, because a man who says there are no accidents tells you something important about his intentions when those particular 3 words escape. The question is not whether Trump accidentally said Strait of Trump. The question is what kind of deal ends this war and who gets to name the prize. Iran has told Pakistan to tell Washington that any deal must include Iran's permanent sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Iran calls it the Strait of Hormuz. Trump calls it the Strait of Trump. 2 names for the same narrow water. 2 governments that cannot both be right. And between those two naming conventions lies the entire unbridged gap in the peace negotiation. Now the Russia story. Because it has been buried under every other headline today, and it changes the military picture of this war completely. US and European officials confirmed to the Associated Press this week that Russia is sending a shipment of drones to Iran, including upgraded versions of the very drone technology that Tehran originally supplied to Moscow after its invasion of Ukraine. Iran gave Russia drones for the war in Ukraine. Russia spent 2 years battle-testing those drones against Ukrainian defenses, modifying them, improving their electronic countermeasures, increasing their precision. And now those upgraded, battle-hardened drones are heading back to Iran. The technology transfer has reversed direction, and what is returning to Tehran is better than what left it. Imagine a weapons engineer in a factory outside Moscow reviewing 2 years of drone performance data from Ukrainian skies, what worked, what failed, what got shot down and why, and then applying every lesson learned to the next generation of the same weapon. That is the drone heading to Iran right now. And it is heading to the country that has been launching drone barrages at American bases, Gulf energy infrastructure, and Israeli cities for 28 consecutive days. The same bases where 12 Americans were wounded last night. The same flight line where US refueling aircraft were just destroyed. Those upgraded Russian drones will eventually be aimed at the same targets with better navigation, better jamming resistance, and better survivability against the defensive systems America has deployed across the region. Now the Houthi is because Yemen's Iran-aligned forces have just drawn a red line that closes a second exit. The Houthi leadership announced this week that they will enter the war if Israel or the United States uses the Red Sea to attack Iran. The group made clear it would also join the conflict if additional allies moved against Tehran. These are the same forces that shut down Red Sea commercial shipping for months in 2024, the same forces that fired anti-ship missiles at American warships repeatedly, the same organization that America spent billions attempting to suppress through Operation Prosperity Guardian and never fully stopped. They have stayed out of this war. Until now they have watched, but they have drawn their line. Use the Red Sea as a military corridor to attack Iran, and they activate. Which means if America attempts to open a southern route around the Strait of Hormuz by routing military operations through the Red Sea, the Houthis close that corridor to both choke points simultaneously. Hormuz and Bab al-Mandeb, the northern exit and the southern exit, both under threat at the same time. That is the scenario that no shipping insurance company will cover. That is the scenario that sends oil toward $200 per barrel. And that is the scenario Iran has been methodically constructing since day one, not through a single dramatic military action, but through the patient accumulation of leverage across every choke point, every proxy, every diplomatic front simultaneously. Now the stock market, because this number connects this war directly to the retirement savings and household budgets of every American watching. Wall Street's S&P 500 closed out its 5th consecutive losing week, the longest losing streak in nearly 4 years. The index has dropped over 12% since February 27th. That is the day before this war started. 12% of every retirement account, 12% of every college fund, 12% of the savings that American families built over years of disciplined work, gone in 28 days. Not because of a financial crisis. Not because of a recession, because of a war that Trump said was over in the first hour. For a family with $200,000 saved for retirement, that is $24,000 erased. For a family saving for a child's college education, the numbers tell the same story. The war is not abstract for these families. It is a monthly statement that keeps getting worse, and the prediction markets where traders bet real money on real outcomes currently show only an 8% probability of a ceasefire by April. The people wagering actual capital on this war's trajectory give it a 76% chance of still running on December 31st. Now the Thailand development, because something happened this week that nobody fully predicted, and it reveals exactly how Iran intends to govern the strait going forward. Thailand reached a bilateral agreement with Iran allowing Thai oil tankers safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. The Thai Prime Minister confirmed the deal at a press conference, describing it as alleviating concerns over fuel imports. Thailand, not America, not Britain, not NATO, a bilateral deal, country by country, ship by ship, negotiated directly with Tehran. This is what the future looks like if Iran gets what it wants. Not an open international waterway governed by maritime law, a selective access system that Iran administers unilaterally, deciding which nations get passage, which do not, and what each nation pays for the privilege. The Gulf Cooperation Council formally confirmed this week that Iran has been charging ships for passage. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, and Oman all signed a statement acknowledging it. Iran is running a toll booth on 20% of the world's oil supply and calling it something other than negotiations, while simultaneously accepting Thailand's bilateral deal, charging GCC-linked vessels for transit, and receiving Washington's 15-point ceasefire framework through Pakistan. Here is the full picture of Day 28, and why it matters more than any single bombing or missile launch. Iran wounded 12 more Americans last night and struck the refueling infrastructure that sustains America's air campaign. Russia confirmed it is sending upgraded drones to Tehran, battle-hardened weapons improved by 2 years of Ukrainian warfare. The Houthis have drawn their red line over the Red Sea. Wall Street posted its 5th consecutive losing week. The Strait of Hormuz is being administered by Iran as a bilateral toll system, nation by nation. And Donald Trump at a Saudi sovereign wealth fund event. On the same night, his refueling aircraft were burning on a Saudi runway, named the world's most critical oil passage after himself, and said there are no accidents with me. The prediction market gives this war an 8% chance of ending before April. The people betting real money on the actual outcome say there is a 76% chance this war is still running when the calendar turns to 2027. The Strait of Trump, 8% chance of peace. 14 dead, 300 wounded. Russia sending upgraded drones. Wall Street's worst month in 4 years. Iran running a toll booth on the world's energy supply while calling it not a negotiation. That is what winning looks like on day 28 of a war that was over in the first hour. What no analyst has yet fully answered is this. If Trump genuinely believes there are no accidents, if the Strait of Trump was a deliberate signal rather than a slip, then the deal he is negotiating is not about security guarantees or nuclear frameworks or proxy networks. It is about legacy. It is about a waterway that bears his name. A historic achievement he can take credit for in the 2026 midterms, a deal that lets him say, I ended the war, I opened the strait, I won. And that version of victory is directly incompatible with what Iran has demanded. Because Iran has not accepted the name, Iran will not accept the name, and the gap between the Strait of Hormuz and the Strait of Trump may be the most honest map of where this war actually stands on day 28. Subscribe now and turn on notifications. When April 6th arrives and Trump's deadline either holds or breaks for the 3rd time, this channel will tell you exactly what it means. When Russia's upgraded drones arrive in Iran and change the battlefield equation, you will get the full analysis here. When the Houthis make their decision about the Red Sea. When the next earnings reports show what this war has done to American corporate profits. When the 15th American soldier's name is added to the list, this is where you come first. Leave a comment. Do you think the Strait of Trump slip was an accident? And do you believe the 8% prediction market gives this war a fair chance of ending before summer? I will see you in the next update.